Hi guys, so the two questions this week are what is the difference between the diagnosis of LD and ID, and what would you look specifically at to make the correct diagnosis? And the second question is, being that people with ID, particularly Down syndrome, can have cognitive challenges and differences in their physical appearance, how could a general education teacher promote diversity and acceptance in the classroom? And how can the teacher ensure that the student with ID feels accepted by his or her peers, included and valued? So, to answer the first question, the difference between um, an intellectual disability and a learning disability is, from what I'm gathering, um, a learning disability has to do with the process of learning, like how you learn. So, whether that be you're struggling with reading or writing or mathematics, something like that. Um, the actual definition that's used in the lecture is LD refers to one or more of the basic psychological processes involved in understanding or using spoken, written language and affects a person's ability to listen, think, speak, read, write, spell, or do mathematical calculations. So yeah, the student is just struggling with a specific learning process, like the processes of learning itself, not their intellectual ability overall. Whereas an intellectual disability, that is defined as um, via the IDEA, it's defined as significantly sub-average general intellectual functioning existing concurrently with deficits in adaptive behavior and manifested during the developmental period that adversely affects a child's educational performance. And the American Association on Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities defines it as significant limitations both in intellectual functioning and in adaptive behavior as expressed in conceptual, social, and practical adaptive skills originating before the age of 18. So yeah, people or children or students with learning disabilities, they can carry out everyday tasks and normal like functions like making a peanut butter jelly sandwich or washing your hands, things like that. They can do that, whereas someone with an intellectual disability really struggles to do things like that, which is why we need the task analysis modules and stuff like that, so we can help teach students with intellectual disabilities how to carry out these everyday tasks, whereas students with these learning disabilities, they're struggling with the actual learning processes. So, yeah, that is the main difference. And I think that what it seems to me the main difference in diagnosing is that um, a student with an intellectual disability, their IQ scores are very low, are on the lower side. Whereas students with a learning disability have an average or above average IQ. So it doesn't have anything to do with their intellectual abilities. It has to do with the learning processes themselves. Um, so yeah, that was just my way of thinking about everything and putting everything together. And then the second question is answering the second question. I think that for one, if I was a teacher, I would obviously want to be modeling to my students how to be inclusive and accepting of all different kinds of students, of different diversities, different cultures, different disabilities, different learning disabilities, whatever it might be, just modeling acceptance and encouraging differences and wanting the students to see that there's value to everyone, there's value to every different person and what they bring to the table, even if it's different from the norm, different from you. And then in addition to that, in a school, the student ratio is like one teacher per like 15, 20 students, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, but obviously there's more students in the school than teachers. So I think that in order to really promote an environment that's accepting um, of students with IDs or LDs, you really have to get the students on board. So like whether that's promoting like doing campaigns or doing having talks in the school, just getting like when I was in school, we did this thing called, it was a campaign, and it was called Spread the Word to End the Word, with the word, the R word. And that was a really eye-opening thing for a lot of students because a lot of students use the R word, um, when talking about students with intellectual disabilities, and or just to say like something was dumb or they were annoyed with something, they would use that word. So just getting that campaign out there saying, spread the word to end the word, and we all had like t-shirts and we signed campaigns or signed the this sheet saying that we wouldn't say the word anymore and stuff. That was a really good way to promote acceptance of students with disabilities in general. So yeah, I think that being a really good role model as a teacher is a really good way to help a student with an intellectual disability to feel accepted, just by showing them acceptance yourself as a teacher and being that model, and then also in addition to that, getting all the other students on board. So yeah, that's about it. Thanks.